Brandon says, do you think the Mandalorian and Grogu could bring back and unite Star Wars fandom together, even though Mandalorian season 3 was mid to some people? I think you need a lot more work before you can say the Star Wars fandom is united. Again, I don't know if it'll ever be truly united because it really hasn't been united since like the 80s. But the more quality products you make, the more obvious it is that there are people out there who are just purely wanting to hate everything. If almost everything is at least good, right? This is what I've been saying for years. If you make stuff that is up for debate on its merits, some people really love certain things, like with Ahsoka. I think both of us really enjoyed a lot of the swings it went for with Star Wars lore. But when it comes to the filmmaking side, when it comes to the pacing side, when it comes to some of those other things, you left it up for debate with its middling quality. How much did you enjoy the content versus how much did you enjoy the product, right? A lot of Star Wars has been that lately. Sometimes it's really polished looking, but poor story. Sometimes the story's interesting, but it's not very polished. And so when you leave stuff up to debate on what you're looking for, then you invite criticism where like nobody's really right and nobody's really wrong. And again, film is subjective, but when you make a bunch of movies that are like 75%, 80% or higher on Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic scores like 65 to 75 every time, audience ratings are usually in the 7 out of 10 range. It makes it more obvious when people are hating on everything versus if you make a bunch of stuff that's like 5 out of 10 reviewed and somewhere between a 4 and a 6 for a lot of fans, then you invite those people who want to hate to really hate. So that was a tangent, but all of that is to say that like I don't think Mandalorian can unite the fandom. I don't think anything will unite the fandom. Like overall, I think certain projects like Andor people can really love and majority will really like. But I don't think the Mandalorian Grogu will like redeem Star Wars. I think you need a lot more projects, especially when we're talking about theatrical, because theatrical Star Wars is restarting. And the last place we left it really was on 3 pretty divisive movies. Not to mention Disney Plus Star Wars has been pretty divided amongst this specific time period with Mandalorian and Grogu, not just with season 3, but Book of Boba Fett and Ahsoka. The last 3 outings from this New Republic era have all been either mixed received or not very well received. So I think in general, it's going to take Mandalorian being really great, Ahsoka being really great, and then whatever Mandalorian sequel you do being really great in order to fully get the fandom back on board with this specific story. I think we need a few more hits before we can really say that this specific project is the beginning of the transformation of Star Wars back into something that most people are genuinely excited for.
I agree with a lot of that. And I think to your point, Brandon, I'm going to focus more on the latter half of what you're saying about Mando season 3 being mid to some people, right? Like, yeah, I know Liam doesn't really love it. I am still a defender for a lot of its choices. I just have over time really come to be frustrated with, like, again, Book of Boba Fett being undercut. And when you could have had 2 of those episodes just be in Mandalorian season 3 into that storylines there, and you could have rearranged the pirate stuff and the Mandalore stuff and actually built towards it through the season and had much better pacing overall. To that point about Mando season 3, that was the last place we left it, right? Like, you can say Ahsoka season 1 is technically the leaving off point, but I don't know. It's a little different because yes, we get Thrawn and he gets his escape into the galaxy. Ahsoka as a whole, it takes place in a different galaxy, right? Like, all the things that are happening in Ahsoka that are in the current place galaxy, it has nothing to do with Mandalorian. It's just bridge a Rebel season 5 that never really happened with Ahsoka as one of the lead characters, and then being like, okay, and then here's Ahsoka season 1. So it has its own problems there and all that, but it has nothing to do with Din Djarin and nothing to do with Grogu, right? So even within this Mandoverse per se, like, there is like a 2 distinct pivots. There's everything Mandalorian related, and then there's Ahsoka. But these 2 big pivots, we're gonna probably end Ahsoka season 2 as like the finishing point of everything streaming related to this Mandoverse era. We've changed this big Mandalorian storylines into a movie now, and it's a tweener because it's like, yeah, it didn't end super strong for a lot of people there. I'll agree with that, but you still want that overall one of the most well received parts of Star Wars in the streaming era to be elevated again, right? So I think instead of saying all of the Star Wars fandom, I think it's more of uniting like the general audience around Mandalorian. Because a lot of people are like, we waited so long for Mando season 3 and it was undone back in 2022. A lot of our hope for it was false hope because it was already undercut by a different show because they weren't willing to trust us as an audience to be like, oh, Din without Grogu How does that story play out? How do these two characters live individually, right? To be frank, Lucasfilm just got scared, making the people that love Mandalorian season 1 and 2 but didn't love season 3 come back and be like, oh, or turn movie, and I'm excited for getting a proper conclusion for the first 10 years of the New Republic and having it all be in the movies, and Ahsoka kind of being that show that gives a lot of the background and fleshes out a lot of those details about defense fleet, about what Thrawn's forces are looking like, which parts of the galaxy are kind of come under his hand, what's the underworld doing. Is that where Boba Fett happens? Is this where we can get see more Legends characters like Talon Card? That's where a character like Zeb, like I was talking about, being a pivot between the movie tweener universe that's happening with the Mandalorian side of it, but still being able to jump and be essential to the lore of the Rebels characters that are leading Ahsoka. And when, you know, one of them has to become a movie franchise because they're the most recognizable and well-received characters, right? But if you get a condensed, streamlined version of Mando season 4 here that cuts away a lot of the fat and the weird choices that were being made in Book of Boba Fett and Mando season 3, and it's a good, strong hit, and then you're like, oh, you know what? I saw some insane sequences that would have been pretty good in the show, but now became a different, like a whole battlefield plays out, and there's way more Mandalorians, or there's like a whole New Republic ship fight or something, or like we see like the Shadow Council machinations. If we just see scale and the story's told well, people will be back into the Mando verse fully. Right now, because there hasn't been a strong end to Mando season 3, you have people who are, you know, dismayed and don't necessarily want to return to that world. They're like, it's too late. I can see why people are a little worried for sure. But if this movie does right, if its marketing is improved month after month and everything leads up to it nicely, and it becomes a big, expansive event film that just rides off the vibes of the original Mandalorian a couple seasons and tells a strong story that feels movie worthy, I think you unite that fandom again. Then you get those people excited. You get them ready for Ahsoka season 2. You're excited. You're happy. Starfighter has its own challenges. I'm not going to dive into that. But if you can get the Mandoverse sub fandom back on top, then you've rehabilitated a huge part of current day Star Wars.
Hello there, Star Wars lads fans. Thank you so much for watching this video. This was actually a clip from one of our live streams and Q&As. So if you'd like to join us every single Tuesday around 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, make sure you join us. It'll allow you to ask a question that might be turned into a video. Hopefully you join us. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below all of your thoughts on this clip. Thanks for watching, and we will see you all next time.